happening, gang? It's your boy Retro back again with another reaction video. Yeah. Today we got another huge update. Now, you guys can probably already tell that it is going down. Just by that title alone, you guys are definitely going to want to see this one. So we got that rogue Democratic official, the mayor of Chicago, Mr. Brandon Johnson, bringing even more trouble onto himself in this one. As we're noticing, the more he speaks, the more crimes that he accidentally admits to, guys, and I'm excited to get into it. To hop straight into it, all I ask that you guys please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and without further ado, let's get into it, y'all. Check this one out.
I wish the next time you talk to the committee chair, ask him if he would be interested in doing a hearing on how reparations can transform people's lives. Just ask him, but here's what I'm getting at. This oversight committee, of all the things that they want to have sight over, they should look at the White House right now. That White House is being ran in one of the most raggedy forms of government that I've ever seen. If anybody is questioning whether or not what our country would look like had the Confederacy won, there should be no question now.
What?
They want us to be afraid. Do not be afraid, Chicago.
This guy had seriously lost it. All of his negligence as a mayor, shoveling all the taxpayer dollars out to these illegal migrants. Now he's saying that it's Donald Trump's fault somehow, his White House? I just don't get these folks.
Whether it's an invitation or a subpoena, I'm always going to stand up for the interests of working people. And I will not be intimidated by some weak individual who won't stand up to an individual who believes he's a supreme being right now. You're worried about Chicago? Look in your front yard. We have a president right now who is obfuscating his responsibilities that should be very clear based upon the Constitution.
I can't even write. This guy literally bankrupted his city in his blaming truck. Got it. Okay.
That should be very clear based upon the Constitution. He is rejecting the Constitution of the United States of America. And if they want to have a real discussion about undocumented individuals who are criminals, they should look at the very individuals who enslaved my people and colonized this land. So whether it's an invitation or a subpoena, the people of Chicago will not be intimidated or threatened by any individual who is unwilling to look in their own front yard of where the real threat to our democracy lies.
Wait, so he's saying that reparations is his only way out? That's the only way to save Chicago from going under? I'm a little bit confused at this guy's point.
So why do I dislike that kind of talk? Why does that disappoint me so much? Because it's blather. That's why. Because it has absolutely no positive effect on the world at all. It is literally a complaining session. It's not going to lead to any positive activity. It's not going to make anybody feel better. It's not going to make anybody look at their life and say, yes, I can. It's not going to do anything but cause people to feel less than, cause people to blame each other, and the solution that he is advocating is never going to happen. So essentially it's a big complaint session, and it's bringing people's self-esteem down. That's the way I look at it. I've been saying this for years and years, decades at this point. I literally despise when people do this. Even if what he is saying is true, there's a lot in this world that you can say that is true that still is totally unhelpful. Okay, and that's the way I see this type of talk. Very disappointed in the illustrious, esteemed, less than 10% approval rating mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson. So we're
less than 10% approval rating, but these folks, we can't forget, they did the voting. They voted this guy into office, and he is making them pay. Oh my goodness. You got to do your research before you go out there casting your vote willy-nilly, because you end up with candidates, individuals just like Mr. Brandon Johnson. He's probably got all that money in his pocket, so he's not just giving all this money. Chicago did not go bankrupt just off the back of illegal migrants. I believe Brandon Johnson, he's got a little pay raise of some sort.
We're going to see what's going to happen, y'all, because we have just 2 days until this budget shortfall something has to be done with this budget shortfall of $175 million. Remember, The illustrious esteemed mayor, he did not make a plan, apparently. And now it seems like who knows what's going to happen. You know, we're going to be here for it. But there's one other thing I want you to hear, y'all. Because remember, the reason we're even talking about the illustrious esteemed mayor is because his city spent all the money on migrants. Now, a lot of y'all are like, hey, kick them out, send them home. I'm like, just take care of your constituents first. Help the migrants with the surplus. Once all your constituents are good, fed, working, educated, well exercised, well nourished, you have some extra, you have some surplus. All right, now you can help other people. That's the way I look.
No. And he's got this backwards. He's saying that he should help them with the surplus. We cannot forget these folks came here illegally. If you would just had allowed Border Czar Tom Homan's mission to be carried out in your state, your city, you wouldn't be having these problems. You wouldn't have been shoveling out so much money to these illegal migrants. But I believe he's benefiting in other ways. Like I said, he may be enriching himself, fattening his pockets through these illegal migrants and blaming it all on them. But I think he's got some sort of pay raise behind this.
It's fair to say right now you don't have partners, right? And in fact, if you look, Chicago, Boston, some other cities, you've all been kind of deemed sanctuary cities because of your immigration and migrant-friendly policies. And that has, in effect, put you in the line of sight by the administration, saying, look, if you do not cooperate, you are part of the problem. Can you talk about that in particular?
Yes, I can. So for 40 years, the city of Chicago has had a welcoming city policy. And what that policy just simply states is that our local law enforcement will not dub as federal agents. Essentially, we're not going to stand in the way and impede cooperation with the federal agencies because we do cooperate with them on a regular basis. We're just not going to have our local law enforcement behave as ICE agents because what it does is it simply breaks down the trust between community members and law enforcement, local law enforcement, and there's enough for them to do already. That policy was put in place by the first Black mayor in the history of the city of Chicago, along with the first corporate council, because they understood that in order to create safe communities, you have to have trust amongst law enforcement. And if agencies are dubbing as federal entities, it erodes that trust. We cooperate with the federal government on a multiple of issues. What we're not going to do is have our local law enforcement lose the trust of the community simply because the federal government is asking local law enforcement to do their job.
So Trump,
are you kidding me right now? This guy is trying to blame it on community trust in law enforcement. Well, if they haven't lost trust in law enforcement, they definitely lost trust in their freaking mayor. Because what if you sat and done, you let your city be overruled by these illegal migrants, probably tons of gang members. People are flooding Chicago at this point because they know you got that sanctuary city status. You failed the trust of your people for sure. You've lost it all.
Trump's border czar Tom Homan has said that he'd prosecute you if you interfered in the raids. You said you won't get involved, but are you concerned?
Well, what I find it to be is reprehensible, to be perfectly frank with you. You know, the city of Chicago has shown up for this country time and time again. And what we're simply asking from the federal government is to recognize the beauty and the value that cities across America bring. My responsibility in this moment is to show up for the people of Chicago, even when the federal government dismisses working people.
But I think, just Mayor, I don't mean to interrupt. I want to ask you this question in a very straight ahead way. Do you have concerns about the administration coming after you if you are not sufficiently cooperative in an area like immigration enforcement?
Look, I can't control what the federal government does. We cooperate with the federal government on a variety of issues. This is not anything new. What we're simply saying is, and this is what cities across America have said, local law enforcement should not have to do the job of the federal government. It's just simple. It's just pretty simple.
It is pretty simple. Follow and abide by the federal and executive orders coming down the pipeline. You wouldn't have these issues that you're currently facing. This guy is such a numbskull.
If the federal government and the Trump administration in particular wants to have animus and disdain towards the people of Chicago and the things at work, of course we're going to resist that. And of course we're going to continue to make sure that we do our part. The fact of the matter, though, is because of the investments that I've made for working people, crime has gone down in the city of Chicago. The federal government has a responsibility, as it has always had, that it has the authority to deport individuals that have committed crimes in this country that are here without documentation. They can do that. We're not impeding, we're not interfering with that process. And if they want to work with the local government, as they have had in the past, our local law enforcement is prepared to respond, of course, when they show up with a criminal valid warrant. It's just that simple.
Yo, there we have it, guys. Oh my goodness. I can't believe some of the things I'm hearing coming out of this Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson's mouth. I mean, he is putting the blame on everyone, and I mean everyone underneath the sun but himself. He needs to do a little bit of self-reflecting, look in that mirror and see who's truly the problem here. I mean, this was all avoidable. And when you look at this deficit that Chicago is currently facing, you can see that it is all his fault. I'm not sure how he doesn't see it. He's saying he doesn't want his community to lose trust within local law enforcement. They've definitely lost trust within him. And then the way he speaks about these illegal migrants, like he's, building trust within working people, or these are working class American citizens. I mean, these are illegal migrants. Stop gatekeeping and funding and sponsoring them, have a free ride in your city, and maybe your city would be better off. You guys would have money to spend on things that actually would benefit real tax-paying citizens within the district. It doesn't make sense to me why he's putting these folks, these illegal migrants, ahead of folks that actually pay taxes within his district. It's so sad, man. This is sad to see. Guys, definitely hop in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. Looks like this whack job mayor isn't going to give it a break until it's too late, guys. Comments are open. I'm excited to hear what you guys are thinking on all of this. Also, make sure you guys please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you did enjoy more content like this, catch you guys on the next one.